Good morning. Welcome again as we are learning Kuntres Bikkur Chicago, Touching a City's Soul. We are very close to the end. So, Baruch Hashem, kol hakavod to everybody. I'm just amazed and impressed at how many people joined us every day or basically every day to learn this incredible maamer, and I hope it's made good impact on everybody. We are having a discussion about the two levels of das. So, actually, I forgot to make perfect. So the two levels of das. So again, this is not a physical representation of physical locations of any kind, but okay, I guess I'll just do it quickly like this. Okay, so this was just very quick. I just sketched it up. But assuming that the top are Chachma and Bina, right? So the top Das Elyon, the higher Das, is representative of the aspect of Das that unites Chachma and Bina and makes them, bond together. So when we have that level of Das, it connects Chachma and Bina. Now, the lower level of Das, supposedly again from this perspective, the lower level of Das is the Das that gives birth to your emotions. So we're going to bring about this out a little bit more, but just I wanted to clarify that Chachma and Bina get united by the higher level of Das, and your emotions are born from the lower level of Das. So, I think we've forgot a bit about Das before, but in order to understand what does it mean that Das gives birth to your emotions, I think we need to discuss this a little bit further and understand it. So Das, again, the lower level of Das gives you clarity. It gives you that definitive ability. So for example, the example that we gave earlier yesterday was about, the fireworks versus the sound of fireworks versus the sound of other things. So when you have Das, you are able to decipher and have this like clarity. Oh, this is what that is. That's you have this definitive feeling. At the same time, and that bonds your Chachma and your Bina. But at the same time, if by the time you know what that is, then you know to what extent you should be afraid or you should be excited. So if you're going to, a fireworks show and you hear the sound and through, your Chachma and Bina, you decipher, oh, this is not gunshots, this is actually fireworks and they're meant to be beautiful and I'm meant to be excited. So it can give birth, that type of clarity, that type of relationship, that type of connection can give birth to a level of excitement. You'll turn around, you'll, tell your friends, wow, check it out, this is going to be amazing, right? So that same sound goes through the steps, Chachma, Bina, Das. By the time it reaches the lower level of Das, it can start giving birth to how you're meant to feel about the situation. As opposed to, if you hear a sound and it through your Chachma and your Bina, you realize, you come to the conclusion that this is a gunshot, so then the emotional reaction you're going to have is probably going to be a little different. You're either going to be afraid and you're going to try and, do whatever it takes for you to be on the safe side. But it affects the emotion that comes out at the end, and it gives birth to that emotion. So let's use this in regards to our learning, right? Or davening. So if you're learning and you're davening and you understand it in such a way that it's just this like, okay, I think I said this thing, and then you continue on, like sometimes, the first time we learn a maamer, so to speak, or the first time we hear it said, if we hear somebody tell us over a maamer or tell us over a sicha, even like on a Shabbos table, somebody gives over a sicha or a vart, it sounds nice, and we understood peripherally, did we actually get it? Is it ours? No, not necessarily. But we understood what the person said. So that's chachma. We got something. Now, when it comes to bina, means you take it, you learn it, you internalize and understand, this was process 1, process 2, step 1, step 2. This is like how the birth of the idea happened. Das Elyon is that feeling. Oh, that makes sense. Now I get it. That like settled, where you take the chachma and you take the bin and you unite them. It's like, that's the settled aspect of it, of like, okay, now I understand this piece. Das Tachton is when you say, whoa, this is actually really powerful and actually makes me very excited. Or this is really powerful and it gives me, whoa, like a real deep yira for the Eibishter. And, it gets me, oof, like that was, so it could bring on all kinds of emotions, but that comes from a level of really understanding, having das with the concept that it becomes yours. It makes a difference in your life. And I've heard this before, go to someone's house or even whatever, listen to a shir and you're like, okay, that sounds nice. It sounds good. I listen, I heard something. Okay, it sounds good. It didn't become mine. It didn't change me. It didn't make me feel anything. And what's the reality is that in this whole progression, the emotions are very important. For starters, they're the two wings, as it says in Tanya, the two wings that makes our mitzvahs fly. So by doing a mitzvah just by rote, you did it, and there's a whole beautiful discussion about this in Tanya, which is better, the action or the kavanah or the action. Bottom line is, you need to do the action, but the action with kavanah is just out of this world. So having those two wings is like giving those wings to a bird for the bird to be able to fly. You have to have love, and you have to have, awe, yira. You have to have respect, not, necessarily petrified fear and hide under your covers, but you have to appreciate the awesomeness of Hashem. You have to have awe. You have to have yira. So Das is able to give birth to these two things. Das is able to give birth to your true love, your true appreciation, your true respect for Hashem himself. I didn't bring it with me, but the book about the book that the Baal Shem Tov books, Portraits of Light, that we, it's a yellow cover. Every week there's a concept of Baal Shem Tov. So the Baal Shem Tov story for this week, absolutely incredible. It gives you a sense of yira. I was bringing about it with my son Levak yesterday. And what it basically says, one of the ideas that it says on there is that the Eibishter, you switch a sin to shin in one of the psukim, and it changes from borders to from shvatayim to svasayim, and it changes. I wish I would have brought it so I'd be able to give it over properly. But basically, in the end, the whole concept is that when we learn Torah, when we speak words of Torah, it's as if Hashem is watching over our lips and he's coming and kissing us. And he says, Melech Malchei Amlachi, the king of all kings is coming, and he's watching our lips every time we learn Torah. He's watching and he's coming and he's kissing them with love. On the one hand, it leads to love. It's like, wow, that is such a deep bond and connection. Every time I learn Torah, Hashem is literally here, right in front of me, learning with me and watching my lips. On the other hand, it's yira. It's a sense of awe. Hashem is right in front of me. The king. And I kept telling Levik, the king. So the king of kings, he's here right in front of us watching, and he's giving us kushes every time we learn Torah. So with that said, that's Das. Das is having this wow, whether it's wow for, oh my gosh, I need to run because that sound is actually not fireworks, or it's wow for, an appreciation of the Torah learning that we have. So we have to work that the things we learn reach the level of Das Tachton as well, that they should affect us emotionally, that we should bond, we should connect with them, Das is like a funnel. It takes all this stuff that's intellectual and it channels it into our emotions. How are we supposed to feel? How are we supposed to bond and connect to this concept? Okay, so we are currently Okay, we're going to start on page 80 by the word "this is the aspect." Okay, so it's basically two little sections down. This is the aspect of das that draws down chachma and fuses it with bina, so that one's meditation will have the quality of seeing as well. So taking this higher level of das makes you be able to have this level of seeing. It's as if you're seeing, just like the story I just said, that Hashem comes and kisses you. You can hopefully, especially if you learn it on your own, go take it and learn it, that book. It's amazing. But learn the concept, and you'll be able to feel as if you're seeing Hashem right in front of you, giving you kushes when you learn Torah, right? So it'll give you this level of the quality of seeing. This is possible because Moshe is the Raya Mehemna, the faithful shepherd or shepherd of faith, singular and unique among the 7 shepherds, for he nourishes and sustains Jewish souls by endowing them with das, with knowledge. So not only is it because we have this bond and this relationship to our Moshe Rabbeinu, to the Moshe Rabbeinu and to our Moshe Rabbeinu in our generation, but also the fact that just his neshama is here, just the fact that his neshama is so pure, was untarnished the entire process of coming down all the way from Atzilus down to our world, the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu is here, that in of itself is able to give us das, is able to give us this ability to have das. This is the main meaning of Raya Mehemna, one who nourishes faith. Remember what we said about nourishing? It's something that you feed. It's something that you can't just say, okay, I'm going to eat at the beginning of the week and then whatever, I'll survive off of those bites for the rest of the week. Your body can't handle that. So to here, we need to have this bond, this relationship, and connecting to our Rebbe, connecting to Moshe Rabbeinu, nourishes and sustains our faith. For this reason, he was the first redeemer of the Jewish people from Mitzrayim, and he will be the final redeemer, Mashiach. The meaning of redeemer is that he endows the people, endows, I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. He endows the people with das. So having this type of relationship, and it's very interesting because, I don't know if you guys get the hachayil from Tzivos Hashem, but one of the sections in this weekly magazine that Tzivos Hashem sends out is about how the Rebbe Giffen and Abeg, the Rebbe is going to find a way, and it's all these beautiful modern day stories of amazing things that happened, and you can see the Rebbe's hand even post Gimel Tammuz. And I know we're coming up to Gimel Tammuz, so it's a good discussion to have. That we all know this, but how much more so we should discuss it now. That having a bond with the Rebbe doesn't necessarily mean beguf gashmis, and there are incredible things that happen. And even now, one of my friends was going through a very hard time. She was told that her unborn child may have very serious conditions, and I ran to the aisle as soon as I could. I organized a few people to also go, and Baruch Hashem, just yesterday she got a clear that everything is good, and baby was born, but they still wanted to double check, and everything was perfect and great and wonderful. And there are bonds and relationships that happen, miracles and all these amazing things that happen, even how much more so now in a certain sense. So again, this is not taking away from our relationship now is not any less incredible and powerful than it was before. Okay. Okay, so we're on page 81, top of the page. When Moshe first spoke to them, communicating Hashem's message to them, he said, "And you shall know, ve'yedatem, that I am God," as the pasuk states in the beginning of Parshas Vayera. The pasuk states that Moshe spoke accordingly to the children of Israel. But prior to this, it is written, and the people believed. They possessed an aspect of faith alone. Thus, it was Moshe who endowed them with das. Likewise, he will be the final redeemer, Mashiach, when the earth will be filled with the knowledge of Hashem, In other words, the final redemption will also focus on spreading knowledge. All existence will be nullified and subservient to Hashem because everyone will know me. So what is this saying? Before Moshe came around, the Yidden believed. It was a sense of belief. And belief is powerful. Don't get me wrong. We had a whole beautiful discussion about this. Belief is very, very, very powerful. But the difference between believing and seeing with your own eyes and having this knowledge where it's settled and set and it's true and it's emes and it's, I could tell you something about, some insane, apparently somebody just sent me this thing that they found this cave or cavern or water-filled cavern thing that hasn't been opened in like thousands of years. And the meme said something along the lines of like, it's 2020, it's already confusing enough, like just close it back up and walk away. Let's not bring in any new discoveries into this confusing and weird year we're having so far. But anyway, the point is, I could tell you about it and you could believe me. But for it to be your knowledge, for it to be yours, and where is it? And you shall know, vayidatim, right? And for you to know, it takes a whole other level. You can't just hear me telling you about this insane cavern that hasn't been opened in thousands of years. When you show up there, you open it up, you look at it yourself, then you know, then it becomes real. So having Moshe and having a relationship with the Raya Mehemna, it gives us that sense of belief. It gives us that sense of settledness, that sense of knowledge. Sorry, not sense of belief we had. That sense of knowledge of it, it's really real. It's really, really real. Okay, all existence will be nullified and subservient to Hashem because everyone will know me, right? So when Mashiach comes, it's one of the amazing things that check on the time, perfect. One of the amazing things that we are trying to accomplish to bring Mashiach is to begin this aspect already. That our goal is that everyone should know Hashem. The world should know Hashem. That's the end result. If we're trying to get to the end result that when Mashiach comes, the whole world will know Hashem, the knowledge of Hashem will fill the entire universe. So how much more so, let's do it. Let's make it a reality. Let's make it, and by the way, the key is that it should start in you. Don't just come and preach at others that they should know Hashem. We should hold ourselves to that standard. We should know Hashem. We should know the depths of Hashem. We should know the bond that we have with Hashem. We should know that when we learn Torah, Hashem is kissing our lips. All these different things. We should have that. And it doesn't mean don't stop doing mitzvahim. Don't stop, doing your amazing shlichus wherever you are. But also don't putter yourself from it. You are a piece of Hashem. You are a piece of the shlichus yourself. And so therefore you need to strive to bond with Hashem, to know these things, and not just in the sense of I know information. Many people, there's some people in the world have an affinity, and I think I've had a discussion with a few people here about this, but there's an affinity for Kabbalah. And some people, there's the Kabbalah Center and Madonna, whatever. This has gone through all levels of history. But having that type of understanding of Hashem, fine, okay, nice, very nice. You understand concepts. But can you say that because you read somebody's profile, you read a paper, it spoke about, what things they did, their shidduch profile, or even their work resume or whatever, that you know them? No, you know concepts about them. You know ideas about them. But for you to know Hashem in such a way that we're describing here, you need to make that effort to know Hashem as if you know a person, as if you know a friend, as if you know a close relative. You need to make that effort. So it doesn't just stay in intellectual concepts. We can't just say, okay, I learned Atik and I learned, Atzilus and I learned Bria. We should chuck around Chassidish terminology left and right. I could chuck around, people's yeshiva seminary titles and their, what university they did and what, where they lived. I can chuck around those terminology, that terminology. But to really know someone, it's to know them in such an extent that you make an emotional connection. It's to have das, to have a relationship with them actively. So too here, it's our job to know Hashem. It's our job to know and make this type of bond with the Eibishter himself. Okay. The difference between the redemption from Mitzrayim and the final redemption is that the level of das that was drawn down at the redemption from Mitzrayim only related to the level of Malakal Almin, the godly life force that encloses itself within the worlds, each one according to its level. By contrast, the potential for das to relate to the level of Sevav Kalalmin, the transcendent aspect of godly light that encompasses all existence equally and does not adapt to the capacities of the recipients, will be manifest when Mashiach comes, may be speedily in our days. So what does this mean? Yes, we have enough time to describe it. So what does this mean? What's the difference between Mamalik Kalalmin and Sevav Kalalmin? So Mamalik Kalalmin is the life force, the godly force that comes into specific things. It comes into specific things differently. So for example, the life force that is in my siddur is very different than the life force that is in a pen. Very different things, right? Because we're each one has to create a separate entity. You know, the life force that's in me, it's very different than the life force that's in you. And that's how it works. We have to, in a certain sense, compartmentalize, or Hashem has to compartmentalize us in order to create separate beings. That said, there's a life force of Hashem that goes through everything without differentiating between separate entities. So again, to use this example, although I feel bad using the same example for two different concepts, but the same example would be for of some sort of radio wave, right? The radio wave doesn't stop at my head, or it doesn't stop at the phone. It doesn't stop at the screen behind the phone. It just goes. And Hashem, there's a certain aspect of Hashem giving us life force that comes through this, like trucking through without noticing the difference between separate entities. So here, what we're saying is that when the Eibishter took us out of Mitzrayim, and that type of redemption, it gave us das in the level of Mamalik Kol Almin, into separate entities. We're able to, see specific miracles. We're able to focus on specific ways in which the world runs. Very specific, it's separate. It's good. Don't get me wrong. It's good, but it's separate. But when Mashiach comes, we'll have this das in the level of Sevav Kalamin. And I think I don't have time to bring about it to the fullest extent of what that means in regards to what we're living, how to live with this concept. Actually, he does a better job. So let me keep reading and then we'll bring about it. Okay, so we're up to page 82. This is the meaning of trust in Hashem, the opening pasuk of the maamer, right? This is how we started. The very first thing necessary is for a person to trust in Hashem. And this trust must be expressed in action, not just in words, but in actual practice, right? So we say, trust in Hashem, and we say, have bitachon, we tell ourselves, we tell others, have bitachon, Hashem's going to take care of it. It shouldn't just remain in words, it needs to be an actual practice. As the pasuk states, and do good, trust in Hashem, and take the action, do good in actual practice. By doing so, a person will be ensured a life of tranquility. So if we trust in Hashem, as we said in the beginning, and now we know what trust means, right? We actually trust in Hashem and we actually take the action to do good, then the person will be ensured a life of tranquility. The food of faith that nourishes and sustains faith is the das that attaches a person to the subject of his thoughts and brings the matter close to him. All Jews naturally love the Torah and its mitzvahs and rejoice and are happy to study the Torah and fulfill the mitzvahs. Similarly, all Jews naturally despite transgression and are God-fearing. But this is all based on the intellect and the understanding of the Torah, whereas the purpose of das is to become aware of the holiness of the Torah, the holiness invested in the Torah. So what are we saying here? It's not just, in order for us to really feed and sustain our faith and have this level to be able to trust in Hashem and to really do these things, we have to work on this das. We have to work on feeding and sustaining our emunah. We have to work on living in a level that's above and beyond the gullus, that's above and beyond the compartmentalized, piece by piece. We have to see this world through what it really is, which is Hashem's light that, radiates all throughout without ever stopping, without ever, there's no place that's void of Hashem. And when we do these things, it'll actually lead us to trust in Hashem, hopefully, not just in, saying those words and say, oh yeah, bitachon, bitachon this, and I hear it all the time, bitachon. Do it. Live with bitachon. It should change your actions. It should change the way you view the world. It should change the way you feel, your attitudes, and all of these different things. And when you do that, you'll live a whole new life. And again, we're not necessarily, and we actually discussed this, that on the one hand, doesn't mean you're not going to get tested. This is the world we live in, at least for now. I mean, Mashiach should come right now and we should be done with this level. But doesn't necessarily mean we're going to be tested. We're not going to be tested. But you'll live a level above the test. It's like being in the water when the currents, when the waves come and you're like, wow, you like get out. Or living on a boat above the water, which you see the test and the water level does affect your boat, but you don't get shuffled and, dunking in the water. I was recently having a conversation about different things, and we're saying that sometimes life, you feel like, I finally got my head above water, and then it's like the next wave comes. So if you live with trust in Hashem, when you live with das in Hashem, you live with this level of learning and really connecting, then you're on the boat. You're not the one getting dunked with your head underwater. So, Chaim et Hashem, you should have a wonderful Shabbos. We will continue and finish off the maamer on Sunday, Be'ezras Hashem.